Ever found yourself in the predicament of a non-renewal of lease scenario? It's a common plight that many tenants face. You've made a home out of a place, you've settled in, and then, out of the blue, you're told your lease won't be renewed. It's unsettling, isn't it? But here's the good news. There are ways to confront this issue. The world of leases and legalities may seem complex, but it doesn't have to be. In the upcoming minutes, we're going to break it down for you, make it digestible, and provide a roadmap for you to follow. We'll be discussing everything from understanding the ins and outs of your lease, to the legal grounds for non-renewal, right down to effective communication with your landlord and seeking professional legal assistance. So don't fret, stick around as we're about to delve into a comprehensive step-by-step guide on how to tackle a non-renewal of lease. First off, it's crucial to have a solid understanding of your lease agreement. Think of your lease agreement as a roadmap for your tenancy. It's the document that lays down the rules of the road, defining what you can and can't do, and what your landlord is responsible for. So what are some key terms you need to understand? First up is the term of the lease. This is the length of time you've agreed to rent the property. It might be 6 months, a year, or even longer. When this term ends, your lease agreement doesn't necessarily end with it. There could be a clause in your lease that allows for automatic renewal, or you might need to negotiate a new lease with your landlord. Next is the rent amount. This is pretty straightforward. It's the amount you've agreed to pay each month for the privilege of living in the property. But remember, this amount can change. Your lease might include a clause that allows your landlord to increase the rent under certain conditions. Then there's the security deposit. This is a sum of money you pay at the start of your tenancy, which your landlord holds as security against any damage you might cause to the property. At the end of your lease, if the property is in good condition, you should get this money back. And lastly, we have the rules and regulations. These are the do's and don'ts of your tenancy. They might include things like whether you can have pets, if you're allowed to make alterations to the property, and what happens if you break the lease early. Knowing your rights as a tenant is equally important. You have the right to a safe and habitable home, the right to privacy, and the right to be free from discrimination, among others. Remember, knowledge is power, and in this case, your lease agreement is your best defense. Treat it with the respect it deserves, because understanding your lease can make all the difference when it comes to navigating the challenges of tenancy. Now let's talk about the legal grounds for non-renewal of a lease. There are a few common reasons why a lease may not be renewed, and it's important to understand that these must be lawful reasons. First up, property sale. If a landlord decides to sell the property, they have the legal right to end the lease agreement. This is often a straightforward process, but it can be a shock to tenants who may have been expecting to renew their lease. Next, we have the landlord's personal use. Sometimes a landlord may decide to use the property for their own personal reasons. Maybe they want to move in themselves, or perhaps they have a family member who needs a place to stay. In these cases, the landlord has the right to not renew the lease. Then there's the tenant's breach of contract. This is where you, as the tenant, have failed to abide by the terms of the lease. This could be anything from consistently late rent payments to causing damage to the property, or even illegal activities. If you've breached the contract in any way, the landlord is within their rights to not renew the lease. However, it's crucial to remember that a lease can't be non-renewed for any old reason. It has to be for a lawful reason. For instance, a landlord can't decide not to renew your lease simply because they don't like you or because of your race, religion, gender, or any other protected characteristic. That would be considered discriminatory and is against the law. Remember, knowledge is power. Understanding your rights as a tenant can help you navigate these situations with confidence. If your lease is not renewed and you believe it's for an unlawful reason, it's important to take action. If you believe your lease has not been renewed for an unlawful reason, you may have a case. So, don't hesitate to seek legal advice and fight for your rights as a tenant. Next up, we'll be talking about how to communicate effectively with your landlord about these issues. Communication is key when dealing with a non-renewal situation. You see, folks, it's often said that the pen is mightier than the sword, and when it comes to addressing a lease non-renewal, this old adage holds true. Maintaining open and respectful communication with your landlord is paramount. It's not just about resolving the issue at hand, but also about preserving a relationship that may continue into the future. Remember, your landlord is a person too, and approaching them with understanding and respect can go a long way. Now, when it comes to the nitty-gritty, writing a formal letter is your best bet. This isn't a casual chat over a cup of joe after all. A written document holds more weight and can serve as a record of your correspondence. It's essential to be clear, concise, and professional in your letter. Start by expressing your surprise and concern about the non-renewal. Politely request the reasons for this decision. It's important to understand where your landlord is coming from. There might be a misunderstanding or a problem that can be resolved with a bit of dialogue. Next, express your interest in renewing the lease. Make your case. If you've been a model tenant, remind them of this. If there were issues in the past, assure them that you're committed to making things right. Remember to keep your tone respectful throughout. This isn't a battlefield, but a negotiation table. Your aim isn't to win an argument, but rather to open a line of communication that could lead to a resolution. And finally, end the letter with a call to action. Request a meeting or a call to discuss the matter further. This shows that you're proactive and serious about resolving the issue. In summary, when faced with a non-renewal notice, don't panic or burn bridges. Instead, pick up that pen or open that laptop and write a respectful, well-thought-out letter to your landlord. Remember, your aim is to resolve the issue amicably if possible. If all else fails, it might be time to seek legal help. Now, this doesn't mean that you've lost the battle. On the contrary, it signifies that you're taking your fight to the next level, and there's no shame in that. When you're faced with a non-renewal of lease, professional advice can be a game changer. That's where a tenant attorney comes into play. These legal experts specialize in tenant rights and can provide you with advice tailored to your unique situation. They're equipped with the knowledge and experience to navigate the complex web of laws and regulations that govern rental agreements. So what can you expect during a consultation with a tenant attorney? Well, the first thing they'll do is review your lease and any relevant correspondence between you and your landlord. They'll then assess your case and advise you on the best course of action. This could involve negotiating with your landlord, challenging the non-renewal in court, or even helping you find a new place to live. But let's be clear, hiring a lawyer doesn't mean you're gearing up for a courtroom showdown. In fact, most tenant attorneys aim to resolve issues outside of court, saving you both time and money. They can assist in drafting letters to your landlord, proposing solutions, or negotiating new terms for your lease. However, it's important to remember that seeking legal help does come with a cost. Attorney fees can vary widely, so it's essential to discuss this up front. Ask about their rates during your initial consultation and consider whether you can afford their services. But remember, sometimes the cost of not hiring an attorney can be far greater in the long run. In the end, the goal is to protect your rights as a tenant and ensure that you're treated fairly. So if you're facing a non-renewal of lease and feel like you're out of options, don't hesitate to seek legal assistance. It could make all the difference in your fight for your home. Don't be afraid to reach out to a professional, especially when your home is on the line. So now, you're equipped with the knowledge to fight a non-renewal of lease. We've covered a lot of ground today. Let's just take a moment to recap. First, we dived into the importance of understanding your lease. It's crucial to know your rights and responsibilities, as well as the terms of your agreement. Next, we explored the legal grounds for non-renewal, shedding light on the circumstances under which a landlord can legally decline to renew a lease. Then we discussed the significance of maintaining open communication with your landlord. An open dialogue can often prevent misunderstandings and foster a positive relationship. Lastly, we underscored the value of seeking legal assistance. A professional can provide personalized advice tailored to your specific situation. Remember, every situation is unique, so always consult with a professional when in doubt. Thanks for watching, and best of luck with your lease negotiations.